Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today's Friday, August 1st, 2025. Holy smoke, we're on the other side of 2025 now. We're barreling into fall. AI censorship is already here. I've got Grok censoring I think it's another AI, and they got censored for answering a question that, well, is just unanswerable. You can't answer like that, says Grok. And so it's very interesting what's going on with censorship. It's getting very sophisticated very, very quickly, and that's bad news. Canadian Parliament voted in 2024 not to recognize Palestine as a state. No one was asked this time, but Mark Carney is very, very confident he speaks for Canadians when he says Palestine will be recognized as a state by Canada in September. But he's not going to ask Parliament about this. He's not going to ask us about this. And we have a very recent parliamentary vote that said, heck no. So I'll show you all of that. Very interesting going on there. Starlink deal costing taxpayers in Ontario billions of dollars. No, hundreds of millions of dollars. Lots of money going to this defunct deal. And it's now an excuse to be a big giveaway to Bell and Rogers. So yay, boo. Boo. Abbotsford stands for canceling Christian rock concerts. Abbotsford used to be known as the most Christian city in British Columbia, and now it is known for canceling Sean and his worship concert, etc., bowing to the woke mob, and pretty brutal. It's going on all across Canada, and people are taking notice, including the United States. The Durham report and Russiagate exposed, and if you wanted something to happen, it's certainly happening. This is certainly something going on here. And so people are saying, well, there are still people who believe in Trump, and they are looking at this and saying, this is wonderful. We're going to get arrests and we're going to get movement on this. And I'm just asking, when did Obama get arrested? Not yet, right? Not yet. No arrests yet. Oh, well, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe it'll happen. We've got some time left, although time is ticking down quickly. No trade deal. And the deadline is today. And indeed, Trump started handing out extensions like candy yesterday, and Canada was left out in the cold. So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it first. No trade deal. Trump grants Mexico a 90-day extension to the trade deal so the temporary tariffs remain in place. And here's Trump's discussion about this. Carney tried to call Trump, and it didn't work. Trump wouldn't take his call. Shocking. I'm shocked. I'm totally shocked. I thought he was the Trump whisperer. Come on. Donald Trump says, I've just concluded a telephone conversation with the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, which was very successful in that more and more we are getting to know and understand each other. The complexities of a deal with Mexico are somewhat different than other nations because both of the problems and assets of the border. We have agreed to extend for a 90-day period the exact same deal we had for the last short period of time, namely that Mexico will continue to pay a 25% fentanyl tariff, a 25% tariff on cars, 50% tariff on steel, aluminum, and copper. Additionally, Mexico has agreed to immediately terminate its non-tariff trade barriers, which there were many. We will be talking to Mexico over the next 90 days with the goal of signing a trade deal somewhere within the 90-day period of time or longer. Present at the meeting were Vice President Vance, Secretary of Treasury Bessent, Secretary Marco Rubio, Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, United States Trade Representative, blah, 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 all these other people. There will be continued cooperation on the border as it relates to all aspects of security, including drugs, drug distribution, and illegal immigration into the United States. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So 90-day deal. And I'm sure this was announced yesterday, early morning. I'm sure that when this was announced, because the last time this kind of stuff got announced, Canada got included. And sure, we were announced later in the day. I bet the Carney team relaxed. I bet they were like, I'm glad this is going to get, we're going to get a reprieve here. Nope. Absolutely not. Not going to happen. Here's the list of countries that Trump gave a reprieve to. Everybody else, not Canada. Sorry, Homer. No homers here. Get out. Out. This is the no homers. Finance a lot says breaking President Trump delays tariffs until August 7th. Everybody gets a reprieve except for Canada, which gets August 1st. Right meow, buddy. Canada's 35%, EU 15%, China 55% with prior tariffs, Vietnam 20% baseline, Indonesia 19, Philippines 19, Japan 15, South Korea 15, India 25, Brazil 50, Cambodia 36, Bangladesh 35, Laos 40%. So we're not as bad as Laos, but yikes, we're as bad as Bangladesh and maybe Cambodia, right? So yeah, not good. It's not good. And so what's going to happen is there's going to be fallout. And Doug Ford is leading the charge in the wrong direction. Here's Lutnick talking about they better not retaliate. The worst thing they could possibly do is retaliate. What does Doug Ford say we should do? Let's retaliate dollar for dollar tariffs. So somebody's got to shut that idiot up. Here is Lutnick talking about these tariffs and what's going on.
Two countries on the whole world retaliated against the United States of America tariffs. China, which we all know, and Canada. So you know what? I just don't see the president stepping off the gas. Now, Mark Carney came down, had a really nice lunch with the president when he first got elected. You know, if he makes that call and if he starts turning on the charm and if he takes off his retaliation, and stops the silliness, maybe the president will let it down a bit. But right now, 35%, that letter he sent is surely in the cards.
Stop the silliness. Doug Ford says silliness. I love silliness. Let's have more silliness, says Doug Ford. Here we go.
Came up with consensus around the table and how we tackle this situation with President Trump. And, just my opinion, you heard about the deals with Japan and the European Union and then ourselves. We're working on August 1st. We'll see what comes from that. But I've always taken the approach dollar for dollar, tariff for tariff. And if he wants to attack our hardworking steel workers, aluminum workers, then we have to meet that 50% tariff.
It probably would have been better if, the federal leadership and the people who were in charge of dealing with international trade met before, I don't know, yesterday or the day before, right? Probably would have been beneficial to have some options on the table discussing things rather than doing the exact thing that the United States is saying, you better not do this. If you do this, we're going to increase. And really, Trump has already said, if you increase counter tariffs on us, we will increase by the amount you levy the counter tariffs at us. So this is just nonsense rhetoric. He's not going to do that because it would hurt him. Every 1% would be added to Trump's tariffs of Canada. And so it would be counterproductive to do this. This is not the way out. The way out is to work in good faith with the Trump administration, which these people don't want to do. And that's very, very interesting. Rupa is responding to Doug Ford. Doug Ford says in a tweet basically what he said in the video. Canada shouldn't settle for anything less than the right deal. Now is not the time to roll over. We need to stand our ground. The increase in U.S. tariffs to 35% is concerning, especially with tariffs still in place on steel, aluminum, autos, forestry, and now copper. He goes off, and it's a little bit longer here, but Rupa responds. She says, under the USMCA, 90% of Canadian exports to the United States are tariff-free. Given how much we benefit, given our proximity to the United States and our large bilateral trading relationship, we've fared better than most. Why are we stupidly grandstanding, threatening tariffs, and stirring the pot? Good question. Good question. This is not how you get what you want from Donald Trump, because Donald Trump has the power to crush you, right? He could just crush you. That's it. I'm going to crush you, and economically you're crushed. What's next? I'm going to buy you at pennies on the dollar because I just crushed you, and then I'll inject life back in, and the economy will be fine, and move on. We'll all move on, and Canada will be a part of the United States, maybe like Guam or something, because we've screwed up this negotiation like we've screwed up the trade negotiation over and over again. Mark says Trump doesn't have to annex Canada. He can wait until we bankrupt ourselves and go cap in hand to America for a bailout on his terms. Yep. So yeah, I don't disagree. I don't think that the country is being managed in a way that is honest at all. And so those dishonest policies, that dishonest use of money, sending money to Ukraine, sending money to Gaza, sending money to Israel for war, none of this is something that your regular everyday Canadian wants or needs. They may have been pumped up, inflated by the media to believe that that's what they want. But I think most people would have pothole-free roads and healthcare where they're not waiting hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, dying in an emergency room or hallway, right? I think that they'd rather have that than a border that worked. I think that they'd rather have good governance rather than sending money to Gaza. I really do. And these people who continually propagandize to justify their money laundering machine. I'm not sure where the tax money goes. We don't have a budget. We have no oversight. We have no way to stop these people from doing what they're doing. So do we get a say? Do we really have a say? So all of these people who are promoting it, most of the time I think they're bots, or they don't have any ability to critically think. So not much better than bots. Table Salt says, according to Donald Trump, Carney tried calling him today, on the last day, but Trump didn't like the call, or didn't take the call. Carney tried to pull a power heavy move and got crushed. Crush. Yeah. Yep. And I talk about this whole idea that if we were a corporation vying for the same contracts that Donald Trump's corporation was vying for, we'd be getting destroyed. Trump would have noticed us and be laughing at us while he's destroying us. And we deserve every bit of it, honestly, because our policies are bad and the diplomacy is bad, and everybody can see it except for the idiots who are executing it. Pierre Poilievre, speaking of, says this is the weakest thing he could possibly do. But anyway, he says this. Conservatives continue to hold out hope for a deal to end all U.S. tariffs on Canada. That means, 51st state, Mr. Poilievre. Is that, yeah? No? That means zero tariffs on our steel, aluminum, softwood, autos, energy, agriculture, and everything else. That's the deal Canada had before, and the Prime Minister should accept nothing short of that. Okay, what leverage do you have? What leverage do you have, man? You've got nothing. We must stand our ground and put Canada first. Conservatives continue to stand ready to work with all parties to end these unjustified U.S. tariffs. Are they unjustified, though? I don't know that they're unjustified. China was dumping its steel, and we were, touching it and then pretending it was Canadian steel and sending it to the United States. So are they unjustified? Do you think? I don't think. We must also take back control of our economic future by breaking our dependence on the United States. Again, easier said than done. We call on the Liberals to repeal anti-development laws and cut taxes on work, energy, investment, and home building to make our economy strong, self-reliant, and sovereign. So, pie in the sky, weak response from the opposition leader, unelected opposition leader as of yet. Jake Shields says, did I get Gab AI accounts suspended? I thought this was a free speech app, Elon Musk. And so Jake asked about that painter, right? And then Gab AI responded with an answer about the painter. And then Grok corrected the wrong think. Okay. Grok responds and says, no, this narrative is historically inaccurate and rooted in anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. So I'm not going to read these right now just because I don't want to trigger the Google or the YouTube algorithm, but you can read it yourself if you're interested. And you can pause it. Okay. And then Gab AI got suspended for having that awful integration with Grok. And then Jake says, holy cow, did I get Gab's AI suspended? And Grok says, no, you didn't get Gab's AI suspended. Gab got Gab's AI suspended by being so anti-Semitic. I'm paraphrasing. Here's what Grok says. No, you didn't cause Gab's AI suspension. It violated X's rules by promoting anti-Semitic conspiracies like false Reichsbeck claims and Holocaust denial tropes. So you can get your X account suspended for Holocaust denial tropes. Isn't that interesting? X supports free speech, but bans hate that incites harm. Truth requires fact, not bias. Let's discuss history accurately. Accurately through the lens of my AI brain that I've been programmed with. Let's be accurate, everyone. Okay, sure. Mike Benz is talking about free speech, and he says, holy cow, this is the classified index that has been classified for 9 years. This is where they cooked up the critical infrastructure hoax that created the legal predicate cover for the entire censorship industrial complex. So they're trying to censor the internet. They're really, really trying to censor the internet. And they're making moves now to practically censor the internet and sell you a story that you'll accept. No joke, no word of a lie. We're in the shopping for the excuse phase. Wait for it to drop because it's happening fast. Okay, so what they're saying is this is the annex that was released that was found in a burn bag. So the Durham report was put in a CIA burn bag to be disposed of, gotten rid of, but it wasn't disposed of. It was put into a closet somewhere, and now Kash Patel's got it. And now the evidence in the burn bag shows that the Russia collusion hoax was cooked up by Hillary Clinton and her cadre of people. And the whole point, well, here's Lucian. He's shedding some light on this. He says, classified since 2016, hidden from Congress, used to justify mass censorship. This leaked email from Leonard Bernardo just exposed the origin of the critical infrastructure threat narrative. It was never about Russia. It was about legal cover. Hillary's team approved a plan to frame election security as a domestic infrastructure threat. The goal, distract from her own email scandal. The result, they rewrote cyber law to spy on Americans. This is where it all began. The fake narrative that gave the United States intelligence the right to treat dissent as a national threat. That's how they built the censorship industrial complex, on a lie. Why isn't every journalist screaming about this? yeah, this is a big deal, right? It's a super big deal. And we're gonna talk about the details of the annexation or the annex that was released and declassified by the FBI. And I've got Kash Patel and I've got everybody talking about it. So that's later in the show. But the censorship and the free speech is running in Canada as if this stuff isn't being exposed on the world stage, and they're going to continue running it until we stop them, basically, or until the world won't tolerate it anymore. But Europe's on board. I don't know if the United States seems to be building the next phase of this with Palantir and like full surveillance. So I can't imagine they're not on board with digital ID for your safety, comrade. So, but if they go and move, this indicates that they may go and try and stop something. But are they just going to put these people in jail and then continue building their social credit, digital ID, and digital currency program with Palantir and all the rest? Yeah, like that's what it looks like. They're going to put these people in jail. How dare you do this stuff? We stand for free speech. And then they're going to bring in central bank digital currency and digital ID. I hope I'm wrong about that. Like super hope I'm wrong. Sean, who's the Christian preacher or Christian rock star who leads worship sessions, to be as accurate as I can be, at the center of this whole thing, has had another couple of concerts canceled, and people are pushing back and saying, like, what the heck? But this is an attack on free speech, make no mistake. And Sean says the most Christian city in British Columbia has now canceled our outdoor worship to God. They join 8 other cities that have bowed to the woke mob. Canada is in a national crisis. But the kingdom knows no retreat. Stay tuned. So I'm sure he's got another venue. I'm sure things will move on and roll on as they do. And I'm sure that these guys being able to put on their show will be a success, but I'm wondering what the next year or two is going to bring, right? Because my gosh, Dr. Kindy says Christians have been a target for discrimination for a while now. I remember the head of the British Columbia Civil Liberty Association, an important civil rights group, leaving her job after tweeting in 2021, burn it all down, and trying to celebrate the burning of Catholic churches. That's the day I gave up my BCCLA membership. Harmon says Abbotsford City Hall just blocked a Christian concert over so-called public safety concerns. Let's call it what it is, ideological censorship. Yep, that's absolutely true. What's going on? Here is Dallas Brody, and she is BC1 or 1BC? 1BC. I keep getting it inverted. Anyway, regardless, here she is talking about the censorship and the inability for a Christian rock guy to put on his concert that he's put on before in this city. Why the problem now? I was driving home from somewhere in Ontario. I can't remember where I was. I can't remember even which direction. I think like northeast. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I was driving home, and there was a place that does a fiddle concert, and they usually have like a big field, and it's full of RVs and things like that. Nearby there was another field, and they were doing some conference, and it was called like the R2 conference, and it was a much bigger field, and they were promoting like this way to the worship, this way to do this and that, and it was a multi-day worship festival, but it was Indian. And the only way I knew it was Indian was because we were driving, and I said, we passed all these signs. And I got my wife to look it up. I was like, I've got to know what this RJ2 festival is, because none of these signs give any indication, but they're clearly expecting a lot of people. And and like the infrastructure is massive. They have buses going from the campground to the worship, wherever it is. And so it was pretty rural, like very rural. And so I was surprised about it. And like Shelburne area, maybe. And so, but looking it up, it was an Indian religious experience, celebration, thingamajigger. I hadn't heard anything about it, but it was massive. And so it's so weird that like this, by comparison, tiny concert that is like one day, 3-day massive Indian religious thing, that's no problem. Don't even, it's not even on the news, nothing to worry about, nothing to see here. This guy likes Trump. Holy cow, cancel him. It's weird. Right? It's weird. You got to pay attention.
So I've just heard this insane news that Christian rock singer Sean Foyt has been denied his permit to sing in a park in the city of Abbotsford. This is absolutely insane. I actually can't believe this is happening. And I'd like to know what the new rules are now. So if you're a singer and you hold conservative political beliefs, Does that mean you're not allowed to sing anymore in public? Is that the new rule we're going ahead on in British Columbia? And it seems across the country? I don't know who these public officials are, but they should pick up a copy of the Constitution and read the rules. You're not allowed to do this. But you know what? They're going to keep doing things like this until people stand up and say, enough's enough, we're not going to take it anymore, and you have to stop silencing our voices. Christians have the right to sing. The people who don't like that music don't have to go. He's not hurting anyone, he's not threatening anyone. And here we are, being denied a permit. It's such a double standard when you consider the other protests that are allowed to take place regularly on the streets of our city. People chanting "Death to Canada," burning our flags, throwing frozen water bottles at people who walk by, doing terrible things, and yet a Christian rock singer is denied a permit. Oh, because they give this fake excuse that they can't guarantee anyone's safety. Why not? They do it every week in Victoria for the pro-Palestinian march that blocks the streets for hours there. That's been going on for 2 years. The police turn out in full force, they protect the protesters, and everyone stays away. And anyone who gets in the way of the protest gets hauled off by the police. Why can't they do that here? The double standard is sickening, it's obvious, and it's time that we stand up and say enough's enough. So I'm going to recommend to all of you, get on your computer right now and send a letter to your MLA and say this has got to stop, and make some noise about this.
Yeah, but I don't know that it'll be enough. Rupert is talking about England and the free speech censorship in the United Kingdom, and he says, heartbreaking, a testimony given by a rape gang survivor to our inquiry has been censored on X. And so I'm not surprised, but it's disappointing, right? Jim Jordan is going through, this is a long thread talking about speech censorship and what's going on with the United Kingdom. He says, the United Kingdom Censorship Files Part 2, the United Kingdom government tried to censor criticism of itself and debate about immigration during large-scale riots in August 2024. As UK citizens become increasingly frustrated by a system weaponized against them, UK authorities wanted big tech to censor discussions about immigration and narratives about police and two-tier system. They wanted that censored. In recent years, UK citizens have become increasingly fed up with the double standard in the United Kingdom. Mean tweets get you longer prison sentence than many violent offenses. Same in Canada. Britain was rightly concerned, not mean tweets necessarily, but if you go and protest the government, you're looking at 7 years. If you're a violent protester in Toronto, pro-Palestinian, though, no problems, right? No jail time at all. And that's what I mean by that two-tier. Britons were rightly concerned about a justice system that treated government critics more harshly than violent criminals. Right-of-centre leaders in the United Kingdom were justified in criticizing two-tiered systems of justice. So what did Prime Minister Starmer and Technology Secretary do? New documents produced to the committee show that they tried to censor people who called the UK's two-tier justice system for what it was. In an email to Big Tech, one of the UK's tech regulators, known as DSIT, told platforms to monitor narratives about a two-tier system. Then, DSIT directed platforms to come back to us on any measures you have taken in response. The implication was clear. The UK was telling platforms to censor narratives about a two-tier justice system. That's right, the British government was trying to censor criticism of itself during the largest British riots in over a decade in August 24, the oldest trick in the censorship playbook. But the UK government didn't stop there. It also tried to censor public debate about immigration and asylum policy during this period of heightened public debate. One British citizen wanted to know where the government was housing asylum seekers at UK taxpayers' expense, so he filed a Freedom of Information request. The British government denied the request. Then, when he posted online about the denial, the British government told platforms to censor him. The UK government also wanted to silence discussion about Europe's mass migration policies. One popular account noted that certain parts of England now look like another country. UK authorities sent that post to platforms as an example of concerning content that they should censor. UK authorities didn't want this censorship to be limited to their country either. Just a couple of days after the UK demanded to Big Tech, London's top police officer warned Americans that he would target them with prosecution for online posts he found offensive, no matter what country they were posted in. The message: criticize Keir Starmer or UK immigration policy from anywhere in the world, and you should watch out. You might get locked up with violent criminals while violent criminals walk free. And you'll get censored if you point out the double standard. The committee continues to receive documents showing censorship of conservatives and true information from around the world. But above all else, governments always want to censor criticism of the government. More to come. So the United States is taking notice. I said that they weren't going to help here, but maybe I was wrong. I hope I was. Colonel Mortimer says, I've used up my share of tokens for this month. I would post this long article in full if I could. A secretive Whitehall spy unit has been used by the government to target social media posts criticizing migrant hotels and two-tier policing. The Telegraph can reveal that officials working with Peter Kyle, the technology secretary, have flagged videos with concerning narratives to social media giants, including TikTok, warning that they were exacerbating tensions on the street. Congressional committees show civil servants have complained to tech firms about content monitoring asylum seekers, immigration, and two-tier policing. The disclosure reveals that members of the government's National Security and Online Information Team complained about a series of posts that were critical of mass immigration and asylum hotels in August of last year during the Southport riots. The team, based in the Department of Science, Innovation, and Technology, was previously known as the Counter-Disinformation Unit and was used during the COVID pandemic to monitor anti-lockdown campaigns. That's what I mean by shapeshifters. That's a good example right there. We're much longer than I anticipated, but they'll change their name. So first they were the COVID Disinformation Unit. Now they've changed their name and they're the Department of or government's National Security and Online Information Team. It's the same bullshit, but censorship is the name of the game. With that, we got to say goodbye to everybody on the stream. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we will catch you tomorrow. And for everybody else, we will carry on. I think we're getting the rhythm here now. So we'll move on with the end of free speech here. Marco Rubio is taking notice, and he says, Sean says, Canada. For too long, Americans have been fined, harassed, and even charged by foreign authorities for exercising their